Hi students! Welcome to Chapter 1, Introduction to SketchUp. Today we will be discussing the SketchUp interface as well as how to access our Help Center. So right now what you're looking at is the SketchUp interface. Essentially when you open up SketchUp, what are the main components that you see? There's essentially three large items that should be drawing your attention. At the top bar, we've got a menu bar. So this menu bar includes a title bar, as well as it has a menu of items, as well as additional drawing tools, toolbars. And then here is our actual drawing window. Anytime that you name a file, you're going to see in the top of the title bar the actual file name. So this is essentially our title bar. Below it, we have a menu where you see File, Edit, View, Camera, Draw, Tools, Windows, Extensions, Help. This is our menu. When you click on one of these tabs, if you will, you're going to see a drop down, or even you can just hover along. You'll see a drop down of additional options. So you can continue to scroll down, and whenever you see a little window, a little arrow, that means that there's more hidden options. If you have something that is grayed out, that means that it's just not an active option at the time. So most likely there's something that needs to be, a step that needs to be generated beforehand in order to make it active. Another thing that you'll notice is you have access to drawing tools here, as well as drawing tools here. But right below our menu of words, we have icons. So this is our toolbar, and essentially all of these different icons represent an action of drawing or modification or some sort of creation. And if you are unfamiliar, what you can do initially when you're starting to learn the program is just hover over the icon, and it will always tell you what does that icon do. So here you can see this is the move tool. We can not only move, but we can copy and we can distort selected entities. So this is a great way to start to familiarize yourself with the actual icons and their task, if you will, what they're able to do. Another part, again, here is essentially our drawing window. Can also be sometimes familiar with the word canvas, right? What you're noticing is that there should be three lines, three colors that you see that transition from a solid line to dotted lines. So the blue line, the blue axis, represents vertical. And then you've got your green axes, right? So you can think of it like X and Y. You'll notice that there's a horizon line that you understand when you're generating dimensions. You can generate on a flat plane, but then you're going to also start to go vertical, and the blue line helps us to understand that vertical directionality. So you'll notice that there's a person here. So this person is a figure that's always going to show up every time you open up a new file. You can technically hit delete and the person goes away, or you could do Control Z to bring the person back. But essentially, this is a selected component. When we want to know more information about the component, we can actually right-click and select Entity Info, and you'll see that this person's defined as Teddy. So the person's name is Teddy. And we can identify just any type of information. It's a component, so we can start to use our mouse, which is our selection tool, to start to select or deselect a component. So if I left click and select, I'm selecting a component. If I click anywhere outside of the component, if I left click again, I can deselect. So you're noticing when you select something in SketchUp, it turns it into blue. to notify you that you've selected an icon or some sort of element. So we've noticed again here that we can see our horizon line where we've got the ground and the sky. And we'll also notice that we also have additional elements down at the bottom. So what's nice about the program is it will tell you click or drag to select objects. Shift equals add / subtract. Control is add / add, and then shift control to subtract. So essentially it means, and we'll go more into this in more detail as we start to model, but if you're on your move tool, and again, a shortcut could be if you type M, so let me deselect. I hit spacebar to get back to my mouse. If you hit M brings up move, right? We talked about this is our move icon. And if you hit, if you select an element and you're on move, you can attempt to manipulate the location of the component. And we'll get into more details, but again, you can use shift or control to help us start to navigate within that space. So it's nice down here to have this bar because it's essentially it's the status bar, and it just gives you an update, a status of maybe what is currently being shown or what could be occurring. So another important element to note is that now that I've grabbed Teddy, and if I want to grab Teddy from the corner and place Teddy in the origin is where all of the three axes meet, I want you to look at the bottom right hand of the screen, which I'll hover down here. This is our distance. So right now it's displaying distance, but it's really a value control box. And essentially, if we have any movement, so if I left click to move Teddy to the origin, if I wanted to move Teddy 1 foot over on my green axis, I left clicked and I'm hovering over on my green axis, and I'm going to type 1 foot, and you'll notice that in the bottom right in my value control box, if I were to hit enter and then space bar to deselect, I repositioned Teddy on the green axis 1 foot off the origin. So, it's very exciting to start to think about. Right now, we're just learning the interface, but later in the rest of the chapters, we're going to get into understanding all of these different commands, how to step-by-step place commands, build commands, use our line tools, and really just start to get very comfortable with the title bar and the menu options that we have. So again, we're going to get into detail on our different views. So if you go to camera, we have a list of different standard views, front, back, left, right. We also can control, right now our default is in perspective, but we can control what we want to actually show. And we could change it to parallel perspective, and it actually made things flat. So again, camera, standard views, if I went to front, and then camera, parallel projection, you see that Teddy is completely flat. We no longer see the horizon changing with a perspective, but in fact we see that the ground is here and the sky is here. So it's a flat image. So I'm going to hit O for orbit and just orbit around. So I've orbited and changed my perspective, and I can at any point bring it back to perspective, and now you're seeing that depth and that change between the ground and the sky. So now that we're starting to get familiar with the title bar, our actual menu options, and then our tools bar, as well as our value control box, you'll also notice that we have additional trays here. For example, if I select rectangle, you'll notice that it's switched from orbit to the rectangle tool. So again, I'm going to hit O on my keyboard. I've got orbit. What's lovely about this instructor tray, which again I can close or open up by hitting this tab, and if you were to ever accidentally close the instructor tray, right now it's activated, so if you were to ever accidentally close it, you can go into your Windows default tray, click instructor, and bring it right back. But it tells you how to actually orbit. So if I grab my rectangle tool and I want to draw a rectangle, it will tell me first click on the first corner, move the cursor diagonally, and then click the second corner, and then you can create an actual object. So at any moment, I encourage you to open up the instructor tray to have as a nice reference. And I also want to bring your attention to an additional resource. So right now I'm left clicking and dragging and selecting that rectangle, and I'm just hitting delete just to remove our surface.